India's startup ecosystem has been in a mess. Fundings have declined, revenue has fallen, and growth has slowed down.
Look around you, a host of unicorns are in crisis.
Top story tonight, the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank.
Silicon Valley companies are now downsizing.
A recession is on the way.
More than 12,000 people have been fired from Indian startups in 2022.
Hi everyone, my name is Aayush and you are watching The Inside Story. In this video, we are going to discuss why Indian startups are struggling and the reason behind the startup crisis. To understand the startup crisis, let's roll back to 2020 and first understand the startup boom in India. In 2020, the Indian government locked down the entire country to fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Company founders feared that these restrictions would leave them in a funding crunch that could hurt their ability to expand, pay salaries, or even stay afloat. However, a year later, the situation was entirely different. The Indian startup community found themselves in a high funding availability thanks to the powerful investment firms like Tiger Global and SoftBank. In 2021, 41 Indian companies attained the unicorn status, including companies like Grow, Cred, and Urban Company. If you do not know, a unicorn company means the company has the valuation of at least $1 billion. By comparison, there were only 13 companies listed as unicorn in 2020 and only 10 in 2019. So Indian startups made waves in the global startup scene with impressive funding and unicorn production. In fact, Indian startups raised a $42 billion in 2021, which is a significant increase from the previous year's $11.5 billion. This sounds totally impressive, right? However, things changed in 2022. Funding fell by 33% to $24 billion and the number of unicorns born in India fell from 41 to 21. Revenue and profits of Indian startups started to decrease. Only 25.7% of total startups are profitable in 2022 compared to 29.2% in 2021. So the seemingly endless fundraising cycles produced a diminishing returns, which led Indian startup ecosystem with the need to start showing consistent profits and healthy exit for investors. Bengaluru-based fintech startup Cred, with a valuation of $6.4 billion, had a loss of 1,280 crores in 2022. Paytm, which is another big fintech startup, lost 386 crores in 2022 alone. Other famous startups like Zomato, Blinkit are also in huge losses. The simple reason for startups to go in losses is because startups heavily invest in marketing to build a customer base, and this often leads to negative cash flow and results in losses. For example, Zomato, which is one of the leading food delivery platforms in India, spends nearly 9 crores on advertising alone. But there is also a different case with Indian startup. Being an old startup and the initial stage is already past, many of the Indian startups are struggling to get in profit, which means that there is a problem in their business model. Even Google or Amazon cannot survive in customer numbers alone. For example, EdTech giant Byju's stated that they will be profitable by March 2023 and they raised $250 million from its existing investors in October 2022. Now the March has arrived, but Byju's has no signs of profitability. Now if you still think that Byju's has to expand and has to advertise to gain profitability, then Byju's has already raised $5.5 billion from investors like BlackRock, Qatar Investment Authority, and Sumeru Ventures. Now let's talk about the reasons why startups are crashing in India. Previously well-established startups started to crash in 2022 due to Russia-Ukraine war. Foreign investment has been an essential source of funding for Indian startups. In the past, several Indian startups like Flipkart, Ola, and Paytm have received significant funding from foreign companies like SoftBank, Tencent, and Alibaba. But the war led foreign portfolio investors to pull more than 1 lakh crore out of Indian market. The next reason for the startup crisis is the entrepreneurship hype. Due to shows like Shark Tank India, entrepreneurship has become a popular trend among young people, particularly among college students. While it's not a bad thing for young people to aspire to start their own business, entrepreneurship is not as easy as it seems and it requires hard work and a good business plan to be successful. But most of the young entrepreneurs are only interested in starting a business to have that CEO and founder tag. And they are only concerned with filling their bank accounts but not about solving a problem that exists in the society. And lastly, in my opinion, I believe that there is no any innovation or a hub of tech in India. Startups in India are just copying the companies of USA and China and there is nothing new about them. Ola copied Uber, Flipkart is a copy of Amazon, Hike is also a copy of WhatsApp. But I do not mean to say that these copied companies are not profitable. But the reality of many of these startups is that they do not even have a profit model. They just want to earn money by listing their company in IPO, which they can use to buy out the existing brands and show their numbers in the balance sheet. Well, thank you for watching. Comment down your thoughts below and I'll see you in the next one.